Alright guys, a lot of Android games depend on a mobile data connection or using a Wi-Fi. However, some of the best Android games could be played entirely offline. They're perfect for trips and actually quite handy. Well, for that reason, today we're going to be looking at some of the best, to be specific, 25 plus offline free-to-play Android and iOS games that were released in 2022 since the beginning of it up until just now. Let's go. And number one, and so just so we could actually get to the list of offline games, so to speak, a really quick mention, we have over here from about 24 hours ago, actually something I've been waiting to have hands on. I've been hearing a lot of good things about it ever since the reveal, something called Chain Monsters, which is technically an MMORPG and a lot inspired by Pokemon games. Just a quick mention, like I said, this game takes you less than 100 megabytes of space for some reason, and it's all the way free, and it could actually be played offline as well. Now, let's get back to the list. For all of you warplane games, I mean shoot 'em up, shmup, and Ace Combat fans here, we've got here what's called Wings of Heroes, and this is coming at number 2 because it was released very recently. Now, Wings of Heroes over here is right now the closest thing to War Thunder on PCs that you can have hands on for free on a phone. It is playable both online and offline with some truly detailed customization options. They're based on old World War II planes and a pretty smooth gameplay as well. Just take a quick look in case you missed it. Alright guys, by far one of the best games released regardless of its genre. At number 3 we have what's called Zombie Horde. This is technically a first-person semi-autoplay just portrait shooter with RPG elements with an insane amount of replay value for a free-to-play game. It is actually all the way free-to-play. There is a truckload of characters to just pick and learn to play with, so many unique abilities and weapons and zombies and just in-game content. Games playable both online and offline, and it's taking you for only 200 megabytes of space. So just keep it in mind. Moving on, with a 4.6 review score and over 1 million downloads since only 2 weeks ago, we've got over here Car Driving Online. I mean, don't really get fooled by the title though, because it's not exactly an online game, but still an offline game as well, with some stunning graphics, highly realistic physics, online multiplayer modes, and an open world filled to the brim with content and different cars to just go through. The game is all the way free, it takes you for 700 megabytes of space though, it's playable offline like I said, and this is how it really looks. At number 5, from precisely a month ago, we've got over here Day Before Die, an action third-person shooter, well, technically post-apocalyptic survival game, and one with a lot of resemblance in terms of aesthetic. For those of you who've been waiting on that specific game, a console port of a game called A Day Before. Well, just check it out, game's free, it's playable both online and offline, with a story mode and actually multiple endings as well. At number 6, from a little less than a couple of weeks ago, we've got over here, and I've actually mentioned this one before, what's called Atss 2. Now, for those of you new, this is mainly an offline game, just a mission-based shooter, and pretty much like the old Division games, albeit in a war setting. This game's sitting on the Play Store as I'm speaking with a 5 out of 5 review score. It is extremely impressive in visuals and very smooth in controls. In fact, even playable with a controller, I believe. Now, this has actually been coming since almost 10 years ago, but we finally have here in our hands Banana Kong 2, and it's perhaps just the best thing that happened in July of this year. I mean, Banana Kong was originally just a masterpiece of a game or a platformer back then, so now you might as well just take that and multiply that by 3, if not 10. It is truly incredible, and the gameplay is just perfect. The story arc is pretty good, the music is epic, and last but not least, it's all the way free. Check it out in case you missed it. Next up at number 8, we've got a open world Grand Theft Auto inspired game. I mean, even though there's been a ton of these games that have been released lately, but nonetheless a decent one called Go to Car Driving 4. Actually, this is a series of open world games that started life all the way back in 2016. So it's actually from the same developer, and it's almost safe to say that this is pretty perfect in terms of replay value. Also, now we get to fly planes and helicopters as well. So keep it in mind. Sitting on the Play Store with almost 4.5 review scores out of 5. Since only 2 months ago, with over 100,000 downloads ever since, we've got Prince of Persia Escape 2 by the same developers of Knife Hit with over 100 million downloads on the Play Store. This is a running platforming game with some pretty good graphics and pretty decent amount of content for a free one. It's got ads, nothing annoying though, and matter of factly, it's quite hard to master or just technically play, so keep it in mind. At number 10, and as it is the custom, an honorable mention over here, since this is our only pay-to-play game on today's list, but with a very reasonable price. We've got Bus Sim City Ride. Single-handedly, honestly guys, the best bus simulator game on Android devices right now when it comes to gameplay. Regardless of the fact that it was actually released only 2 weeks ago, the game is literally perfect and just bug-free. It is very diverse in content, it's huge, playable with a controller, and this is how it actually looks on your phones. Coming up behind that, we have Spider Fighter 2. This is from a well-known developer whose just specialty is to make indie superhero games, and also for those of you familiar, yes, the sequel to one of the most addictive action games with the same name. Spider Fighter 2, I would say graphically is pretty good compared to the previous game. There's plenty of unlockables here. It's just like Spider-Man PlayStation 4, but just on your phones. It's been around since May this year, and it's sitting on the Play Store with a lot of positive acclaim as well. At number 12, we've got something called Dragon Sails Ship Battle. Technically with the most positive review score in today's list, this is an action pirate ship battling, as you could tell, sim, and quite huge in content for a game that's only 400 megabytes of space though. If you like just action-packed, boat controlling games that you could control a ship or a boat, and you like rewards, because this game is rewarding as hell, this is probably the one for you. It is very smooth in gameplay, and it's actually been sitting on the Play Store for more than half a year now, so it's quite bug-free as well. Coming up behind that, we have probably one of the most advanced games to have been released since the beginning of 2022. What is called Magic vs. Middle Forsaken. This is a real-time strategy action game, technically a third-person shooter, and partly just an idle based. I mean, you could play the game online, but it is actually entirely playable offline and totally free to play. It's taking you for 700 megabytes of space, and it got a massive campaign, if that is your thing. So Furious Road Trip, on the other hand, is exactly, assuming you all know about this one, a game called Subway Surfers. Albeit here you get to control a car and just avoid obstacles and grab coins. This is a very smooth and rewarding game. It's been sitting on the Play Store since September 15 and it is downloaded over 100,000 times, and just take a look. This is how it really works. At number 15, we've got Deer Sim. This is from a tad over a month ago and just really one of the dumbest and most fun open world casual games I've ever laid eyes on myself. And it's even worse than Goat Simulator if we're talking comedy. Like, technically you're a deer with a super flexible neck and an antler as a weapon. Just wandering around the city, do whatever could come to your mind. This game's downloaded over 1 million times, which speaks for itself, since only August this year, and it's got a pretty good review score as well. Check it out in case you missed it. It's a good one. Modern FPS Military Strike, on the other hand, might not be the most visually advanced game today or out of any genre just overall, but it is one of the best Resident Evil meet House of the Dead mixes on the Google Play could have hands on for free right now. That is actually less than 100 MB of space. Game's pretty smooth, I believe it's even playable with a controller, I'm not really sure though, and it's got some really interesting bosses to just deal with, although it's quite easy to handle. So don't be worried. Now, I had to include one of these in today's list as always, because at number 17 we've got Stickman Pirate Fight. This is a single-player offline action-packed fighting game, as it's just the case with most Stickman games, and quite smooth and very fun to play, as it is once again the case. However, this is a very hard game to master. It takes you 430 MB of space, and for a free game, this is actually filled to the brim with content. I mean, like, be it the characters, stages, rewards, anything you could think of. Check it out in case you have missed it.
In a faraway land lives an evil scientist.
Moving on to number 18, we've got Mad Scientist, strategy games. This is one of the more classic puzzle thrillers and just a tad in the same vein as the old Hello Neighbor. But it's about a little girl trying to just teach a lesson to this dude. This professor, this mad old dude professor, who's just taking the peace away out of the neighborhood, I believe. Game's free, it's been around for 2 weeks now, it's got about 15-20 stages to just survive through, it's quite fun, quite smooth, and takes you for 300 MB of space. Take a look.
Can she pull it off?
Next up, we've got Rote Redemption Mobile from a tad over a week ago. This is quite a bit inspired, as you can see, by the old Road Rush game. So mainly this is just an action fighting game rather than a racing game. And also set in a post-apocalyptic world ruled by this dictator, so something like that. So if you're just a fan of old Mad Max franchise, I guess, you will feel pretty good at home with this one as well. So keep it in mind. Moving on, we have from only weeks ago, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, who cares? Something here called Pick It Up 3D, which is a casual Subway Surf inspired running game. But this story is just about a real estate billionaire who's trapped in another universe or dimension after some car accident, who's now just trying to set back the old empire or whatever. Game's partly a puzzle game, it's mainly an action one with some building sim elements, quite fast and quite fun, and it's all the way free. a quick mention over here. Rallycross came our way only a week ago, and it is downloaded over 1,000 times only. I would have to say it is legitimately one of the pretty nice offline racing games released for the past few months. It's got a huge car pool, it's getting constant updates, and it's pretty much bug free. It's also all the way free, so please do consider trying this one as well, I guess. Moving on, we have Endless Nightmare 3. I've actually mentioned this one before from a little over a month ago. This is a free-to-play horror game and obviously the third entry of the Endless Nightmare series. However, the game's now got a bigger map, more weapons to choose from, newer puzzles, and some world-class graphics just for a mobile game. Ton of replay value, zero ads so to speak if played offline however, and even playable with a controller, I've heard, so you'll see. At number 23, we've got from April this year, one of the biggest free driving sim games on the Play Store called 3D Driving. This is technically based off of the real cars with their brands on the front, something even Grand Theft Auto series haven't been able to put up with to this day. And it comes with a pretty big pool of cars and places to just roam around. Game's free, it's almost 1 GB of space for you, which makes sense considering the graphics, and it's all the way playable offline. Guys, if you do enjoy games that around every corner all the way give you nothing but innovation, I guess, do look up Typo Man Remastered. Also, wait a minute, if you're into just playing with words in games like Scribble, this is exactly that with some horror-themed platforming elements and quite a bit like Limbo. Game's free, it's downloaded over 100,000 times since June this year, and this is how it really works. It's a really, really, really fun game. And last but not least, maybe not the best game, but a rather decent game from what I've collected so far. We've got here at number 25 IGI FPS Shooting, which is technically playable online, but it's got a terrible support. You might want to get stick to the offline. This game now, despite the negative reviews on the Play Store, got a quite decent replay value. It's legit in graphics. Gameplay is not that bad, and it's actually been getting a lot of updates and fixes as well. And right now, it actually takes you less than 100 MB of space, so do keep it in mind.